All right, everyone, we have another big Doge win. $1.9 billion being recovered from HUD in wasteful spending. This is fairly significant. That's billion with a B, by the way, not million. 1.9 million. Yeah, it wouldn't even be worth the clerical paperwork at this point, especially after Bidenflation. I like how the price of eggs is blamed on Donald Trump, too. At this point, if you get a couple dozen of them, Gaston has given you a kingly gift. But, link in the description, by the way. Archived, of course. You can read the article for yourself. HUD is getting audited. A lot of people think housing and urban development is like untouchable, and HUD, does do some good things. But there's always going to be inefficiency. This is the point with government bureaus, by the way, in general. It's not that the bureau is incapable of doing good things. It's that there's automatically going to be waste and fraud within any of these systems. This is the case for state agencies, it's the case for federal agencies, it's the case for municipal money usage. It happens all the time. I would note that the same liberals that are crying foul over this, oh my God, how dare you create more efficiency within this government agency? You're going to put people out of the HUD housing and they're going to be homeless, are the same people who ignore the fact of homelessness in the United States in favor of putting migrants in luxury hotels. I'm just saying there might be a little bit of hypocrisy there. Just a little bit. I'm being glib. There's a lot of hypocrisy. So HUD has been audited. They're going through the bureaus one at a time, it seems, and trying to find the waste, fraud, and abuse within these systems. Overall, I can't even fathom the amount of billions of dollars that have been saved already in a few short weeks, actually. It's very efficient. The Department of Government Efficiency is working very efficiently at creating efficiency. Yeah, it's efficiencyception, I suppose, at some point. I'm not surprised at this, by the way. When you get the dream team lineup, and Trump makes the right hiring decisions, and puts the right people in the right advisory positions, which is what Elon Musk is, and Trump made this clear. We'll be talking separately about how the left is trying to drive a wedge between Trump and Musk, and Trump is fully aware of the fact that this is happening. I called it out over a week ago when they started saying, well, Donald Trump has called out Elon Musk. Donald Trump probably read that story and laughed his ass off. He probably almost died laughing. You're going to accidentally kill the President of the United States with laughter. There have been a handful of cases throughout history, by the way, where people seem to have died of laughter. When I looked at the Chaz Garden, I thought I was going to have a heart attack, for example. This is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do because you're saving Americans money. You're limiting the waste within government in general. You're limiting the size of government more, which is in keeping with our founding principles. The idea was that the government shouldn't become too large. If it gets out of control, the poodle becomes a mastiff. And it's really hungry. And you're slathered in mustard. That becomes a problem at some point. The whole point is to constrain government. Constrain it legally with the Constitution and with various other ordinances and laws and so forth. Constrain it. And to limit it in its scope and size. That is, you don't need 5 government agencies with the same policing authority over the same issue, for example. So the FBI, the CIA, the EPA, and the IRS don't all need to be involved in a criminal investigation. It's wasteful. It's totally inefficient. It makes absolutely no sense. Government agencies should be smaller. They should be budgetarily limited, constitutionally limited, and they should be parsed off from one another in their actual operations. Again, otherwise you get a case. There was a case, I think a few years ago, where the FBI, a local sheriff's office, and the state police all attempted to entrap one another. It was a weird case. I can't remember where it happened, but there was a case where they all show up, and I guess they were selling explosives or something, but they all entrapped one another accidentally. That's real efficient. How much did the operation cost? Probably millions of dollars, especially if the federal government's involved. At least at the state and municipal level, maybe it's a little bit better. And it reminded me of Super Troopers. You know, when the Stadies and the local Popo were both going after the same case and both trying to assert hegemony over it, and then they got into several brawls over it, and then the Stadies got fired, and the state police chief, he got drunk, and then they were drunk driving around and destroying property, and it was a weird movie. A very, very funny one. The state police originally panned it. Then they realized how funny it was, and now it's considered a treasure of the state of Vermont. But this actually happens on a fairly regular basis. So imagine that there's an investigation into a business by the IRS pertinent to tax documentation. There might be a simultaneous investigation by the FBI into the same documentation. There might be a simultaneous attempt to investigate them by the EPA at the same time because it's related to environmental restrictions or something like that. But it's also related to taxes and potentially to criminality. So 3 government bureaus are investigating effectively the same thing. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's wasteful. It costs a shit ton of money. It uses a lot of resources that could be used for better things. Like, you know, I would like it if the FBI went after human traffickers and pedophiles and stuff like that. That's just what I'm asking. I would like it if the EPA wouldn't hyper-regulate and micromanage literally every aspect of industry in the country. Things might cost a little bit less. It would be nice if the CIA would stop selling cocaine and inventing crack, but, you know, that's a lost cause, so I won't even bother talking about that anymore, etc., on down the line. It'd be nice if the IRS only audited people who actually deserved it. There's a reason I'm paranoid with my tax returns. This is the way that government functions. This is why it needs to be limited. DOGE, while advisory, is finding a bunch of wasteful spending in agency after agency. Now, considering the number of federal agencies, $1.9 billion is not a lot compared to the federal budget. But it adds up. If you go through every agency and find similar amounts of waste, fraud, and abuse, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. Now that is a significant sum of money, and they're finding it. And the liberals are going haywire right now. Oh my God, how dare you take money away from HUD? Yeah, but it was being used for wasteful purposes. Probably for, the HUD was spending $1,000 for a toilet seat or something like that. That's what we're going to find. The military does this too. Even Elizabeth Warren is on board with DOGE on that one, which is the most inexplicable thing I've seen in modern politics, actually. We've gone off the rails. The timeline is no longer a line. It's basically a pile of spaghetti. That's about all. Peace out.